Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we have a very special episode. We are here literally the morning after the Oscar ceremony, and we are going to be sharing all of our thoughts, opinions, reactions, all the things about this year's Oscars winners. And today we are joined by a very special guest. We're so excited to have Heather on the pod. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey there. I love your show and I am so happy to be here to share my thoughts, of which I have many. Yeah, I'm Heather. I am based in Germany. Actually, I've been here for over 20 years, but I'm originally from Scotland in the UK. And yeah, I've been following the Oscars for over 30 years, I reckon now at this point, because I am old, ladies. So yeah, 30 years and been predicting them all that time, and great to be here to talk to people who want to hear what my thoughts actually are for a change, as opposed to boring my work colleagues or family.
Yes. Yeah. We want to dive into all of the nitty-gritty details of category to category instead of the high level, like, so what did you think? And you see their eyes glaze over about like 2 minutes in and they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. That we opened up a can of worms here.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, this is awesome. I know, Heather, you follow the awards show and awards season quite closely, and 30 years of experience getting acquainted with how the Oscars have changed and evolved and grown to the point that we see that now, but also still making some misses. You know, it wouldn't be the Oscars without some misses as well. So we're diving fully in. Later in this episode too, we'll be sharing the results of the Oscar wager. It's a little prediction and little tradition that we have here on the pod between Sarah and I over the past, I think, 5 or 6 years now. So we'll be sharing the results of that and teeing up our Oscar wager movie. But until then, man, we've got a lot of things to talk about. I think let's start off our conversation with what our thoughts are about this crop of movies this year at a high level. Before we dive into like the wins and the categories and whatnot, I'd be curious, Heather, your thoughts about this year's just collection of movies. It's kind of like our gang of friends that we get to follow over this several month period. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very wide ranging, I say. You know, lots of variety in there. We had the big blockbuster epics of Wicked, Dune Part 2, but the much smaller films, you know, look at the one that won, you know, made for 6 million, or, you know, having 2 international films. I know one of them was Emilia Perez, but there were still 2 international films in Best Picture again, like last year. And I think that's a great development that we're seeing and we will continue to see, and I'm sure it will only increase. So that was great. I think there were a couple of films which must have been very close to getting in that I personally had quite high on my list. Rest in peace, Challengers, you know, and I would love to have seen other ones like A Real Pain getting in and Sing Sing. So the ones that missed felt like, apart from Challengers, felt like the smaller movies that must have been just very close and just maybe weren't seen enough. So you could have swapped out Nickel Boys or I'm Still Here for, say, Sing Sing and A Real Pain. Maybe smaller movies as well. But it was a good crop. It was interesting to see them all. There was a couple where I was like, oh, I'm going to have to kind of force myself to go and watch that. It's not normally something I would go and see, but I still did it because I feel you have to go and see them to really predict and make comments. So yeah, that's my feeling. I felt stronger about last year's, for example. 2023, I think, was one of the all-timers that we've seen recently. But I have issues with 2022. There wasn't much for me in that list. So I actually feel better about 24 than 22, strangely enough. And I know that I'm a little bit different there. But yeah, no, it was good. And I like the variety. I think that's always good to see different films where you wouldn't normally go and see them. I'm sure I would never have seen Emilia Perez, you know. But anyway, what about you guys?
Yeah. The variety and the range is much wider than I feel like it was in previous years, which is hopefully indicative of the way that the Oscars are evolving and changing and expanding their voting body. I think it's getting reflected even in some of the wins here too, which I was pleasantly surprised by some of them. So, Sarah, what are your thoughts about this crop of movies in general at a high level before we dive right into some of those categories?
Yeah, I think like similarly to Heather, like it's a good crop of movies. I do really appreciate the variety of films and types of stories that are being told. I think that that's really important, and highlighting films like The Substance. You know, I'm having non-movie people in my life who are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to go watch The Substance," or "I'm going to go watch Anora." Like, and those are movies that maybe people like outside of film circles wouldn't normally go watch. And so I really appreciate that. And we're seeing that films that are horror or films that are comedies, you know, they can be just as great as the like serious period dramas that the Academy normally loves. So I appreciate all of that in there. I do think the Academy missed out on something like Sing Sing. Should have been in the best picture crop, but you know, whatever, it's fine. But on the whole, it's still a really good crop of movies.
I still mourn
I
the Sing
think
Sing one, man. I just think,
I that was my number two
ah,
last year.
yes,
Yeah, of all of them.
yes,
Yeah.
what a jump. Okay, we're all aligned on that
Challengers
front.
1, Sing Sing 2.
Yes.
Yeah. A Real Pain 3. I did not do well. Like my top three did not get into that, which is rare. Actually, no, wait. September 5, I think I also had like at 4 or 5. So yeah. Hey, but last year Oppenheimer was my favorite. So,
Heather, I want your predicted Oscars to be the multiverse that we were living in. You know, the two movies, man, were so high on my list this year. Just absolute gems. Resonate so deeply with me personally. So I like your predicted version. I want that world to exist.
that would be nice. Yeah, no, but I read though one of the film critics out there said, that is the point really of an Oscar nomination, right? It just gets people's to your point, like it gets people's eyeballs on films that they would not normally have discovered, and not just people like us who are going to go and watch 10 pictures that are nominated. I mean, unlike the Oscar voters, but that's another topic. Oh dear. But, it gets people's eyeballs on it. So yes, we'll go and see everything because it's part of our homework to go and see these films. But yeah, like you were saying, we've now got people asking us saying, "Hey, Anora, what is this?" Like, and then they read the synopsis, like, actually, that sounds interesting. Or I remember a friend of mine who I do tend to drag to a lot of films. She trusts me generally, but I was a little bit skeptical with the Bruce list. And I said, it is long. Bring bring something to snuggle in, make sure you're going to be comfortable. She falls asleep quite a lot. I hope she doesn't listen to this, but she knows she does. And she sometimes snores. But she was like, "Oh, wait, the Brutalist." And she goes, "Oh, is it about Brutalist architecture?" And I went, "Well, I mean, kind of. Is this the hook together?" She's like, "Oh, that's so interesting." I'm like, "Okay. If that's why you're going to watch a 3.5-hour movie with me, sure. It's about brutalist architecture. Let's do it." But yeah, and she loved it. She actually loved it, and she did not fall asleep.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
I think it was the intermission.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. You get your refills of your snacks. Yeah, you get a little stretch of feet.
Or just people being curious to check films out. I mean, I went to see, of course, it was nowhere near the Oscars, but it was near the Razzies. I went to see Megalopolis simply because it's Francis Ford Coppola, and I wanted to be able to have that conversation with people, or Joker Part 2, right? You need to see them because you can't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can have that conversation if you've not seen it. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. One of my favorite post Oscars moments was being out at work with a group of coworkers, and we're just all debating from the Anatomy of a Fall film. Did she do it or did she not? And it's just the fact that oh my gosh, all of these people have seen this film, this foreign language film by a female director who is absolutely incredible at the height of her craft, and everyone's seen it. It just was such a surreal moment for me as a movie goer to see that we could have this conversation. Did she do it or not? I'm like, that's not the point of the movie, but also cool. Let's have the conversation.
But I mean, I think yeah, of course, you've got your ones like, Wicked, where people are like, Wicked should be winning everything. Or the people last year, Barbie should be winning everything. And I'm like, well done. You've seen one film. But if it gets people having that conversation or willing to go and explore other films, or the whole Barbenheimer last year, I think we all know that Oppenheimer, and I love it. And I know you two don't, but I do. And I don't think it would have had that almost $1 billion box office if it hadn't been for Barbie. I know that Christopher Nolan is a draw. I know he is. He is one of those few directors that will get people to cinemas just based on his name. I mean, I'm already sat for The Odyssey and it's, just started filming. But I still think obviously there's a lot of people not like that. And it's a 3-hour historical drama, people talking in rooms. I love that. That's just my kind of stuff. But not everybody. And yeah, you were hearing about people like, oh, Barbie was sold out. Oh, I'll go and see Oppenheimer. And they would never have got to the $1 billion apart from Barbie, but this is great. And then a lot of people discovered it. And then they're discovering the rest of Nolan's filmography or other similar films. And I just think that is great. So I don't think we should be writing off these blockbusters. And, Sean Baker was saying, let's go to the movies, let's save cinema. And that's blockbusters help, And yeah, if they're in the big stage like Wicked, it's a great thing.
And how you can have a blockbuster that's still a really great movie, like
right.
Wicked, like Dune Part 2, like Oppenheimer, like Barbie, like all of these. I love that it doesn't have to be a one or the other type situation. And I do appreciate, though, that the Academy is like highlighting and celebrating maybe these smaller movies too, and the Academy using its powers for good too. But hopefully studios will also learn some lessons and say, hey, you know what? If we put these movies that are quite good into theaters, maybe people will actually go and see them. Like, please, studios, do the right things. Let us see these movies in theaters.
And I think people do want that. I know people got used to being comfortable at home, but especially something like these big blockbusters, they are made for the big screen. But even, and I'm going to say something like the Nickel Boys. I didn't really connect to that, but I watched it. Sorry, I watched it on my phone. That was the only way. Yeah. So this is not ideal, and I do wonder if, and I'm sure it would have been the case, having that screen experience for Nickel Boys, even though it's a small film, you think, oh, that's probably something would be, it's the message and it's the, I think that would have been fine maybe on the phone. I don't think it was, and I think I lost something. So I had Nickel Boys quite low compared to a lot of people, but I do think that was the reason that the cinematography just did not, what he was trying to do, amazing, but it just didn't connect. And I do think that was how I watched it. But so I think, I just do wonder if it's the comfort, or if it's the availability of the cinemas, or if it's probably price as well for a lot of people. It's not cheap. So yeah, I think it's great that it was brought up and it was given such a platform by Sean Baker. But we need to find a way of kind of solving the problem, because it's it's often not just wanting to. It's a case of other things like availability or money. So what can we do to help them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make our arts more available.
There are sometimes films that us as movie lovers want to go see, but they're just so hard to see too. They're either available in select theaters that are like 20 miles away, or a very small window of release. And so even for us as movie lovers, we're like, we want to watch these movies, y'all, but how can we have access to them? They're not on streaming. They're not. And so it's always a whole puzzling that we do as we prepare for Oscar season to figure out, when should we watch this window? What's the window of time? We need to hop on it and schedule everything out accordingly. But even for the average consumer, how can they experience these films? And it's neat to see sometimes the way that the streaming platforms, I know there's this whole studios versus theaters versus streaming platforms, but there's a lot of like accessibility that I think streaming platforms also give to films that might be more of a leap of faith, that people aren't willing to spend $12, $15 for, that they might really experience in a streaming platform environment. So I do wonder, like, how many more people got to watch Amelia Perez because it was available quickly and easily on their Netflix feed, and they're seeing the buzz about it, and there's a leap of faith that they just a lesser chasm that they can cross. And is that also part of the cause of all those nominations when those were announced too, as well? So there's,
and also all the vitriol, though.
Yeah,
as well. Yeah, more accessible, the more people see it, the more hate it's also going to get.
True.
So,
true.
But I mean, I don't want to say that watching something on, your television or laptop or tablet or phone or whatever, as long as people are watching the movies, right? But on the other hand, that's not getting the monies into the cinema. So it's a double-edged sword, very much. You want to make art available, it's available on streaming, but that's not helping the movie theaters. So yeah, very long discussion. Podcast topic in itself.
Yeah, an important one. And it's one that, the industry's really thinking about as well. I think, especially in this post-COVID, post-pandemic world, like how do we get butts in seats? And I think for us as movie goers, it's thrilling to see them people like show out for something like Dune Part 2. I just find it so thrilling to see a packed theater, all the little heads lined up in rows, ready to experience something together. It's quite magical still to see. Okay, well, let's dive into some of these categories, shall we? I maybe want to hear from everyone some of the biggest surprises or moments where you're like, okay, all right, the Oscars made a different decision than I maybe would have expected them to. And either you were thrilled by that surprise or perhaps severely disappointed by that surprise. Either direction, but works. So what were some of those big moments from the night for you? Heather, do you want to share?
Oh, well, I mean, it started very early with Flow. Was it second? Third? It was very early.
Yeah, it was early.
And I mean, it started off with Culkin and you're like, yeah, sure. It was really early. And that was when I thought, oh, okay. And that almost made me, it made me think that I'd been wavering on swapping out my prediction of Emilia Perez for I'm Still Here, and I just couldn't do it. I was doing reverse psychology. I was like, if I don't do it, then, I'll get points in my wager with my brother if Emilia Perez wins, but I'll be super happy if I'm Still Here, because he swapped, right? But I'll be super happy if I'm Still Here wins. So I stayed with that, but I did. It was when Flow happened. I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing, and that's when I thought, yeah, it could be I'm Still Here, but that was for me really early surprise, I'd say, which kind of set the tone. There were a few other surprises, but I mean, the shorts are just throw 5 films in the air and catch a piece of paper. No way. I got one correct, but it means nothing. I'm trying to think. I don't think it was on the cards, but the moment when I said okay, and I tweeted it, so it's aged well, or I put it in Blue Sky. The moment I knew it was kind of over was editing, and I said, okay, that's it. Best Picture is Anora, and Sean Baker's going 4 for 4, because that was the one that we didn't think, or I think Conclave was the favorite. People were predicting Conclave. It just won the BAFTA, and everybody's like, well, if Conclave wins, it's still in the competition. It winning anything doesn't mean it's going to win Best Picture. If Anora wins editing, that's where it's kind of wrapped up. So yeah, I'd say so. Flow and editing kind of early on, but I don't think editing was necessarily a surprise. But those were two where I was like, oh, okay, sat up, pay attention. And then, of course, it developed with the documentary feature where I just was like, yes, they did it, which I really wasn't sure about. We would go with No Other Land. And then, yeah, the ultimate with I'm Still Here. And then I guess as the actress, was a toss up anyway, and it made sense. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think mine are pretty similar to yours. Flow instantly got my attention. I was like, oh, okay, let's go, Academy. And then I was so excited for No Other Land to get Best Documentary. Oh, thrilled. I'm pretty sure that I shouted while on the couch watching this. I was just so excited. And yeah, once editing went down, it was like, okay, we got the Anora sweep is going to happen. Which is just wild to me. Like, I didn't expect the Academy to go that far. Like, in our Oscar wager, I went all in on Anora, so I'm thankful to the Academy for this. But I didn't think that they were going to go as far as they did. And so I think that's also just an interesting little marker for the Academy of making some surprising decisions, but also good decision. Like, it's a good movie.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So it was that was the start of the sweep as we knew it.
Per Eura, it's the only one. But beaten by category fraud. But hey, another. We're just not even going to go there. 4 leads one. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a whole discussion with my family about the supporting actor. Like, what? How is this divided? Well, it's okay, whatever.
I see the argument, but
Yeah.
no.
But I've never been more thrilled to be wrong about the Academy this year because I think Nora having such momentum and such a sweep is such a thrilling experience to see this story about a female focused story about a female not being heard by the men around her in her life, being shut down and stepped on time and time again, and finally reaching a moment of a painful moment of catharsis by the end of the film and leaving us there. Like, I'm so thrilled that that is the film that got this amount of attention and love and adoration. I would have expected, I was expecting, as from our Oscar wager predictions, there's a little bit more split with like The Brutalist or with Conclave, which are traditionally, I think, films that the Academy, maybe a little less with Conclave, definitely The Brutalist originally is something that they would go for that fits the bill for them. But for Nora to be a film that gets just celebrated this heavily was the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it was the DGA going with Baker was, I think, what should have surprised everybody. We were like, oh, this is what we're doing, because up to then, I think a lot of people had seen Honora as a potential winner just because of the preferential ballot, and nobody dislikes it. Right? I haven't talked to anybody who has Honora past, I think, 5, right? So it's top half for pretty much everybody I've heard or spoken to, which always helps, of course. But I think there's a lot of people who are still thinking that Brady will get director, right? That's a directorial achievement, what he's doing with The Brutalist. I agree for what it's worth, but it's not worth anything because I'm not an Academy voter. But I could have seen the split happening. So I'm wondering at what point they just were like, well, we're going in. And was it the AI story? Did that affect in any way? Is it just the directors being, you have to earn your stripes a bit, Mr. Corbet, before we let you in our club? And Sean Baker has his, number of films behind him, generally getting gradually more well regarded. And he's now been accepted into the club, and this is why he's now winning all of this. And Brady, you're just not quite there yet. Christopher Nolan had to wait. Martin Scorsese is still waiting for his second, and that. But I don't know whether it was that. I don't think the AI thing really affected it, or if they're just like, we can unify, like we can unite behind this one picture. I was surprised the most, I think, by the director. We're not on the night I saw it, but when we started seeing there's this swell, the surge for Honora, I think it was possibly the director one that surprised me the most. The one that I guess surprised me most on the night yesterday was editing, probably more so than the actors for Mikey. But yeah, I was expecting, looking at everything, I think either they unite behind The Brutalist or there's a split. I didn't see that unity so much behind Honora. Yeah. But great. I mean, great film. I also have it at number 3, so it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just always so curious about like how these votes ended up and all of that. And I think you're right. There is that bit of like, you're not in our club yet. There's always that aspect to so many of these. And I feel like even, when people finally do win, it's like, okay, well, you should have won like 3 movies ago, but okay, now you won your Oscar. So I'm curious. I'm just interested to see what's gonna come next too. Like, I mean, The Brutalist is brutal, but also phenomenal from like cinematography and directing standpoint. So it's good things are to come, I'm sure, and we will hear Brady's name again in these circles, I'm certain. But it's always interesting to think about, like, how did we get here?
I have also kind of considered, there's a bit of chat about it online as well yesterday, is what if the whole Twitter Emilia Perez thing hadn't happened? What awards would it have won? And people are like, I think it would still just have won what it won. I don't think so. I think it would have won it international, probably for sure. I mean, I'm still here. The fact that it got in meant that people did watch it, and a lot of people realized it was the better film, which it is, and it's not even close. But what I do wonder is if that surge, I still didn't think it would be enough. I thought the European bloc is still, they nominated it for a reason, and it's all anonymous votes. Nobody knows who you're secretly voting for, right? So if you like that film, you might still just want to vote for it ultimately. So I think it would have definitely won the international, and I don't think it would have won anything else. And I think editing probably, because it's often the most editing. I don't understand why it got nominated, because I think it's ugly, but I think it's, with Bohemian Rhapsody, we saw like a few years ago, horrible win, not just editing, but yeah, that was the most editing. And I think that's the true for Emilia Perez. So I think it would definitely have put up a fight in editing. I'm trying to think what else it got nominated for. It's hard to say, of course, because we'll never know. We'll never know. But I don't think it would have had just those two, Song and Zoe. But we'll never know.
I was so pleased to see that the conversions from volume of nominations into wins was more limited for this film. I was not so thrilled to see that for Killers of the Flower Moon when it got nominated for everything, but didn't win anything, Seems still salty about that one. I think I will be like 20 years from now and still be talking about Killers of the Flower Moon, getting absolutely snubbed and shut out. But yeah, it's a film, and I wonder if the discourse around the film really also shaped voter preferences as well. I was personally surprised while we're talking about Emilia Perez, is just how much energy there was in the online forums and conversation around this film's volume of nominations. I would have expected that we would maybe like danced around it a little bit more, or tempered a lot of that. And I'm pleased that we did not. I'm pleased that people are using their voice to share what they think about film and what they think about art, and that being a powerful force for everyone else to feel more empowered to be able to speak what they really feel about a film that can be hard to speak about because of the subject matter and topic matter, and how to do that respectfully and all these things. But yeah, I think I'm in the same boat of like, it was not a film that I think was well executed, nor did it resonate, nor from a storytelling perspective, nor handling the subject matter. I don't think it did well. So was pleased to see that it wasn't that continuous momentum from nomination through to ceremony night in for this film. And just the groundswell of conversation around it, I think, was important and significant. So I was pleased to see the internet doing its thing for good, which is a rare moment that we can, be like, well, okay, online discourse.
Yeah. I think
vocal.
So to your point about not being well executed, exactly. So I think if it had been well executed, or we could say, well, it deserved a nomination there and there, like, even if I don't like the film, I appreciate that, I don't know, cinematography. I don't, but, I don't think it's necessarily fair to punish the good work of, say, the makeup or the cinematographers or whatever, just because, the director said awkward things about Spanish speakers, or there's all these awful tweets from the lead actress. I don't think that's fair, but I do wonder if at the nomination time, that was just a film that a lot of people had seen and they were like, oh, I'll just take it off, because there's not that many films in total that were recognized with nominations this year. So it does seem to me a lot of, it was affected probably by the fires as well, like around the nomination time. And they were like, oh, I've seen that, I'll just nominate it. And they didn't obviously nominate things that they hadn't seen. So I wouldn't like to say that if it would be, if it had been a better executed film and deserving of, say, cinematography, would that have been able to cut through the noise? So similar to Zoe, who managed to still win, the song managed to win as well. It lost out an international feature, but again, no problems there, because it is a great film. I'm still here. It would be interesting, but again, we'll never know. And I don't think it was necessarily deserving in those categories anyway. So you'd hope that was the reason, and not because not that everybody was reacting to, because that's not fair for people doing, good work, which should be recognized.
We love it when the Academy does the right thing. And for Amelia Perez, it got too many nominations, but when it came down to the wins, like, okay, that's fine. Good job, Academy. You started in a weird place, you ended in a better place. We'll take it.
And I think if you look at the roster of winners that we got, that's all good. And you probably never have known how crazy the season was because, I mean, quite frankly, I thought Zoe was great and the songs were all a bit rubbish. And I actually quite like Al Mal. It's a bit of a bop. I had that in when I first saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, this is catchy. You know, I remember this song and it was definitely the highlight song of that film. And I think it's the only one I remembered. That doesn't say very much, therefore. But yeah, and I wouldn't, I mean, supporting actors was a mess anyway. This year, there's I probably could swap most of them out and replace them with amazing performances that weren't recognized. So that whole category was just weird and felt weak to me this year based on what was actually there. But of those five, I think you both had Monica, but yeah. So I thought she did a great job, and I say the song fine of those five, yeah. And so looking at the whole list, it's not a bad list of winners. If you look at it, and we'll look back in 10 years, and even next year, nobody else apart from us will remember the whole chaos beforehand. Probably they'll just look at what's in the Academy list.
So one of the other films that I wish had gotten maybe a little bit more attention, and this is related to the Best Actress category as well, which is The Substance. Just an incredibly fresh and creative film, perhaps maybe not for everyone, and maybe that's something that your point that you were making earlier, Heather, around kind of the wide appeal crowd favorite aspect of Anora really helping it. Like, it's a film that is just fun and takes you on a journey and a whole adventure, and there's something that's just like a crowd favorite aspect of it that is really helping it. And The Substance, I think, has like a loyal, passionate following, but maybe mass appeal is a little bit harder to swallow for a lot of folks. But I would have loved to see a Demi Moore win in this category. Mikey Madison makes a lot of sense. I'm not mad about it, okay? Because she does an incredible job and she carries Nora. But I think that this is a category that Demi Moore does an incredible job. And I think the meta arc and narrative around this actress that was a star in her youth and has figured out some things along the way and kind of taken a step back and now re-entering with such a comeback would have been just an incredible story and showcasing that your career wasn't over even when you think you might have lost your glory days, and to come back and do such a vulnerable performance in a film like this would have been thrilling. So I think this was the category to give The Substance some of its flowers and recognize some really great work and kind of showcase an incredible narrative for just like what it means to be a female in this industry in general. That I would have loved to see. I'm not mad about what we actually got, but I think that was another alternative reality that I would have been very pleased by, especially celebrating this film and this actress. Curious your thoughts on best actress. I know it's been a toss up the whole race as well between the two.
Yeah, so but I think actress was the last prediction I entered, and I was toing and froing, and you never know. Do you go with the BAFTA? Do you go with the SAG? Yeah, they've split. I am so bad at predicting best actress. So, I mean, I'm sorry, Demi. It's my fault. I talked myself into my key. I was like, it makes no sense. I was listening. Yeah, I was like, it makes no sense. Always go with the stronger picture. Always go with the stronger picture, which I had not done in the past. I picked Kate Blanchett. I picked Viola Davis versus, what did she do? Against Nomadland, Frances McDormand. I'd gone with Glenn Close, as everybody did, as opposed to Olivia Colman. And it just, I just don't. Last year, picked Lily. I don't learn. And I said, no, right? I'm gonna pick Mikey. Makes sense. They like the picture more. It's gonna win Best Picture. Mikey's gonna go with it. And then I was swimming yesterday, and I was just like, doing my laps and thinking through my last predictions, as you do, because what else to do when you're swimming back and forward. And I was like, oh, and I kind of got myself into a scenario where I understood the Demi getting through, and actually Mikey and Fernanda splitting the votes, because I think a lot of people think, oh, the way for Fernanda to win is Mikey and Demi splitting the votes of the American body, but then I thought, no, actually, because Mikey won the BAFTA, so she's got the British block. Now you never know, of course, how close it was, right? Of course you don't. So but as I said, well, so Fernanda we know has got Latin America, and Mikey presumably has Britain, and then most be the Europeans. So we've got the international vote being split, and this is how. It's very similar to Carey Mulligan. This is how Carey Mulligan can win. No, this is how Demi Moore can win. I was like, right. I talked myself into. I was like, okay. I've got to. I was like, right. This is how she wins. I'll go with the SAG, and yes, nominated for Best Picture, but not as highly rated probably as Honor. I'll go with Demi and the whole narrative thing. Yeah, well, that was the kiss of death. So apologies, and I. So next year, okay, next year, I'm pretty good on actor, but the actress is a disaster. So either what I say is, just don't. If it's 2-horse race, just ignore me, or I will then, just talk me into going with the actress in the higher rated picture. I just or if it's a sweep, I guess. If it is, if she'd swept everything and won the BAFTA, then I don't think we would having this conversation, and she would have won. But yeah, no, I would, but I agree. I would have liked to have seen Demi win, because I think her speech and the message she would have given would have been amazing. And I think you could tell, yes, Mikey had something written on a tiny scrap of paper, which I think her brother had for her. Like, she didn't have it because she didn't know where in her dress to have it. So he kept it in her pocket. She asked him to give it to her before she went up. And it was a nice speech, but she was so shell-shocked. And she had her message, and she'd had the message about the sex workers that she had at BAFTA, and she thanked everybody. And so it was fine, but I just think Demi's speech, and you shouldn't judge it based on how good the speech would be, but it would have been great to see what she would have said, because I think the message would have been so important, carrying on what she's been saying over her other speeches. And really that message that you were talking about, she would have, had that on the biggest stage possible, and it would have been an amazing platform. But it is what it is, and I'm not mad about it either, because I think the top 3 were incredible. I think Cynthia was great too. I didn't quite connect as much. I think maybe she and Ariana will get recognized next year for the second part, perhaps. I don't know. I've never seen Wicked, so I don't know how big Glinda's role, if she's going to be, even more supporting, because that was also not a supporting role, but okay. I don't know what happens in the second part, but I imagine that Cynthia's goes darker, and they're going to like that more, I guess. So darker and heavier, and that might be the place to reward her. Perhaps they're saving that for next year. So yeah, I think any of the top 3 I would have been happy. Yeah. And obviously the substance. Yeah. I mean, I just don't know where else really I think the nominations, quite frankly, for a movie of that kind is the win. And I just think a lot of people probably really struggled to get through it. But I'd like Conan's opening, though, with him coming out of Demi's back. That was good. I was listening to somebody earlier in a podcast saying, I wonder how many people who have not seen the substance would even have understood what he was doing there. Like, well, that is the weirdest opening. What's he doing?
I was so uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, make this bit stop. Like,
then when he go to get the shoe, when he went to get the shoe, it's like, no.
I'm done with this bit. Conan, please stop. Go away. Like, I was just, I couldn't do it. Oh my gosh. But I think you're right that the nominations for the substance was the win. And
it got makeup.
It did.
Like, it's an Oscar-winning movie.
Exactly. So...
as is Suicide Squad.
Well, that's depressing. But we can celebrate the substance. And if it makes you feel better, Heather, I think we are also historically pretty bad at predicting the best actress as well. And they almost never go with who we want them to go with. So maybe it's all of our faults and we need to like
yes. So
fix
listeners,
something.
if you want to predict Best Actress, you need to listen closely to what Jen, Sarah, and I predict next year and go with the opposite.
Safe bet.
There you go. Safe bet. Yeah. No matter how unlikely it is. Somebody sweeping the season, it doesn't matter. Just pick against what we say. Yeah.
One of the other categories that I was pleased by and wanted to celebrate and just mention here is best, what was it? The Conclave win for Best Adapted Screenplay. I was so pleased about that. Yeah, Heather, I'm seeing you joyfully clapping gleefully as well. Please share your thoughts about that.
At least it got one. It didn't bagel. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good. I've got the book sitting on my bedside table. I need to read it. But
yeah.
Yeah, I got it for Christmas and I haven't got around to it
Oh
yet.
my gosh, that'll be thrilling. That'll be so thrilling. But yeah, this is a film that I particularly love. I just love seeing people love this film. It's one that I think could have so easily in another year just been a film that came out that was really cool, that like, you know, was like we love from like the film nerds that watched it, but like just flies under the radar, kind of gets forgotten, kind of gets put to the side, right? But I'm loving seeing the combination of the film world embrace this film, but also like the masses really just like show up for this movie. I think it just gives me
memes.
so much hope for this movie. We posted a bunch of our videos on social, and we had one around talking about how this film feels so coded for adults. It's just like people in rooms talking and making snarky comments and stuff. And then just seeing the flood of comments from so many young people that have been like, I'm 16 and I loved this film, or I'm like 12 and I watched this with my older sister and I loved this film. And I'm so impressed by and excited by the future of movies because of Conclave and the reception of Conclave. I think it's single-handedly given me a lot of excitement for the future. So just pleased to see that Conclave was recognized on people's radars and getting celebrated by the Oscars.
We need to do a shout out to the Twitter, I think on Twitter, or Blue Sky, maybe on both, Pope Craved. Oh my goodness. That account has been giving me life. It is so funny. And they have been the cultivator of all these memes. And it's been so good. And I think that's helped as the meme culture. It connects with, these 15, 16-year-olds. And I think it's wonderful. But yeah, because it is, as you do your point, it is people talking in rooms about voting for a new pope. This is not necessarily appealing to 15 and 16-year-olds on average, I'd say. But I think this just the memes with the turtles, with the, diva cardinals. It's been wonderful to see. And I think as well, though, that it is a pulpy book. I mean, I haven't read the book, but, people are saying it is very, very pulpy airport, fiction. But it's been elevated by, first of all, this incredible cast. Everybody, you've got your A-listers, but also the supporting cast that are not quite so well known. Incredible across the board, whether it's the 3 minutes of Isabella Rossellini still getting nominated, or the vaping cardinal from Italy, or just all of that was perfection. And then the cinematography, I don't understand why it didn't get nominated for that, but whatever, it looks beautiful. The production design, creating the Vatican, everything was elevated by that crew and cast. And I think that is help, because you put that in the hands of a lesser director with a lesser crew and a lesser cast, and that is a mess. And it's a straight to streaming, and it's not to demean Netflix, but it's a straight to streaming Netflix production, and that's not what it is, of course. So I was delighted to see that the script, as I say, I will be interested to compare. Although I haven't heard it, it keeps pretty closely to the book in terms of, they're not going to change, they haven't changed the twist or anything. But so though I was very pleased to see that. It was expected. I did wonder if we were going to have a women talking situation where Nicole Boyce grabbed it perhaps in a massive shock, and Conclave wins nothing. But it really had swept. I think I was feeling confident more so than on the editing, although the editing surprised me a bit as well. But yeah, it is what it is. I think in an or sweep, you're just not getting in the way of that, as it turned out. But yeah, no, Conclave was great, and I think it was quite divisive. I think there's a lot of people that didn't rank that very highly, just because it is that like pulpy nature. But even if you don't connect with the story, or you think the story's a bit like weak, you can still respect the art of the film, and I think that certainly helped. And what I thought that the cast did very, very well. No, it was the producer. When they won the BAFTA, they did a speech that brought this pulpy story about voting for a pope. They brought it to today. And they made that. And I'd been hoping that they would have been given that chance to do that. And it was the first time, I think, really, that they'd received a major award. So I had that opportunity to do it. And that's what I'd been waiting for, that they tied it into what is happening in the world today, and how that message, yes, it's about popes there or cardinals there, but actually, what does it mean? And it means accepting people for what they are, and that they can't change, because that's what they are, and you shouldn't want to change them if that's what they are. That's how, what is he saying it? This is how God made me, right? So, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but the principle is the same. And I thought, oh, they did such a good job doing that. And I do wonder that if they'd had an opportunity, people say, speeches don't make the award season, but in a way, I do wonder if they'd been given that chance earlier to share their interpretation of this story and make it relevant to what is happening today, if it would have been, if they'd been in more of a chance than they were. You will never know again, but I thought that was a very clever move when they had that platform at the BAFTAs to make that statement.
And I think that's what makes Conclave so special too, is that it's such a human story. And you can just see, like, it's such an invitation to like empathy and connecting with other people. And you wouldn't think this story about electing a pope would be so applicable to our lives. So I'm so glad that it won in that screenplay category, because to take that and bring that to the screen and have so many themes and messages and everything that we can take away, I think is so powerful. And it is an Oscar-winning film, which is great.
Yes.
Oh, we love it.
Yeah, that's great. And it was only, it had an 8 and it won only one. I'm like, well, at least it won that. I mean, sorry, I'm going to have to say it. The last 3 Scorsese films, not the last 3, the last 2, and then Gangs of New York, he's gone 0 for 10, 3 times. So that didn't happen to Conclave, and it did. Sorry. Up the painful. No, I agree. I was giving it the actress as well, and I had De Niro on my number 1 for supporting actor last year, and yeah,
yep,
love Downey, but De Niro, he brought it. Well, he was never in the conversation either. We shouldn't be talking about 23, but just, I have to say, why was De Niro not in the conversation more? That is some of his best work for years.
Yeah.
And he was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And there was just never, I think they just focused everything on Lily.
Yeah.
I mean, Leo didn't even get nominated, right? He didn't even get into Best Actor. I think that was ultimately right. And De Niro does not care, obviously. But I just think he was, I don't know, he was so chilling, and he was so good in that film. And he was just never in the conversation. Mm-hmm. It was all, well, Downey swept, of course, but I think, there was the odd win for Gosling elsewhere. But I mean, weird.
He's almost someone that like they think that like Hollywood like takes for granted at this point, because he's just like such a staple and delivers every time. They're just like, De Niro's doing his great thing,
right?
He's been doing it.
Right.
He just operates at such a high caliber that we're like, oh yeah, that's just run of the mill stuff. But no, it is incredible, yeah, and to be worthy to be celebrated. We just take it for granted.
I know, right? And it's like, I was getting annoyed with those anonymous ballots. They're like, oh, we're voting for Adrian Brody because Ralph Ray Fiennes already has an Oscar. No, he doesn't. And Adrian doesn't. Yes, he does. Inform yourselves. First of all, Ray Fiennes should have an Oscar because, of course, he should have won for Schindler's List, but he didn't. You know, Academy, that's your fault. Look in the mirror. Your fault. You didn't give him that Oscar. And Adrian Brody won 22 years ago. He has an Oscar. So that's like bad reasoning on your part. Just say you prefer Brody. I mean, it's fine. I thought Brody deserved the Oscar, right? It's all good. I love Ray Fiennes. I adore him. But, you know, what Adrian Brody did in The Brutalist was immense.
Yeah.
And it's fine, but don't like, oh, Ray Fiennes already has one and Adrian Brody doesn't. That is just not true.
We're out here like, show us your receipts.
Yes, exactly. Let us do it if you're not going to take it seriously. Yes. I didn't watch Dune 2 because I didn't like Dune 1. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh no. Let us vote.
Yeah.
We might have got Demi over the line. If we'd voted.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because my vote was Fernando Torres, so I'm no good. But yeah.
But I'm pleased with that one too. You know, I'm pleased with that one too.
Yeah. No, that was she was amazing. I just think that was a case of not enough people seeing the film ultimately. But and we'll never know who. I mean, what was Demi even second in the end? You never know. There's Kevin Jacobson's podcast, and the runner-up is. We'll see what he thinks. I think they'll say Demi, but who knows? It's not as clear cut. I don't think it's as clear cut as it was the last couple of years, where it was obviously Kate and Lily. No. What else have I got noted down? I like the costumes bit where they all came on, and Bowen Yang was in actual Wicked Shiz Academy uniform, and everybody else was dressed normally. I thought that was kind of cool. That was funny.
It was cute, and I loved
that was well
I loved
done.
the John Lithgow bit too, and the John Lithgow being disappointed. And I wish they would have done that a few more times, but man, that was a great bit too.
They didn't show the audience that much. Did you notice that? They normally do a lot of audience shots, and they didn't really, and I don't know why. I was listening to something earlier, I think it was The Big Picture, and they were saying, well, maybe it's because they didn't have as much star power as they normally do, because if you're not nominated, a lot of people just don't attend anymore, like the big famous people, or, you know, maybe there's still issues, of course, with the aftermath of the fires. And somebody who, I don't know who it was, somebody made the joke that, well, nobody's there because they're all in Morocco filming The Odyssey with Christopher Nolan. But yeah, I don't know. There was very few audience shots I found this year, and yeah, lots of. God, are we actually going to talk? We're going to talk about. I was about to talk about people being played off. You know, usual issue. Yeah, but then that reminded me of, and I blanked it, when the song winners. What was that all about? When she started singing Emilia at the end, it was so weird. So bizarre.
It really was. There were a few like really awkward moments of the night, and that was definitely one of them, and might be the worst. Like, that was just, I did not enjoy.
What? So what I was trying to figure out was what was she trying to do? Was she trying to get people to join in with the sing-along? With the Emilia or whatever. If so, read the room. That every time they got a nomination announced, hardly anybody clapped. And it's not gonna happen. I don't know. That was really bizarre. I think that might have been the weirdest bit. Yeah. And then Adrian Brody just basically saying to the orchestra, like, stop it, I'm wrapping up, when he blatantly wasn't, because he went on for another 4 minutes. But then they played some other Dune winner off.
Yes.
And just cut the microphone.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? Like, I wanted to hear what this other person had to say.
Yeah, because the other two had, you know, done their bit, and just let him at least say thank you or something. And they just cut the mic. So I don't know if... So in Europe, we got the full Culkin speech. So I think I heard that he just I mean, I know he said like he swore, but I think he only said it once. But they cut this like whole 8 seconds, and well, we heard it, so I didn't hear it. But so I don't know. I was wondering if that was the same, but no, it wasn't, because we would have heard, if he'd sworn, we would have heard it in Europe, because we didn't have the silent bit. But I don't know. But they cut the mic. It wasn't just that they played them off. The mic was shut off. It was really weird. Whereas other ones, they played the music, and they were like, oh, okay, I'd better go then. But weird. Yeah, and disrespectful, I think, as well.
Yeah, like, you worked so hard. Your film just won an Oscar. You just won an Oscar. And it's like, nope, you don't get a mic anymore.
Bye.
That's just...
You don't count. At least they got to present them, as opposed like to a few years ago when they did them all
true.
off camera. That was
terrible.
That was the last Dune. Because Dune, before we started the televised ceremony, had already won like 6 Oscars.
Yes,
And
I remember that. Which is terrible, because those are such important technical filmmaking aspects that we're just like, these are categories are not important enough for us to show, and we know you don't care about. No, we do, actually. Academy.
Well,
it's just
we
craft.
do, and especially in a year. And actually, I think it's same this year. The ones that are winning those technical awards are the blockbusters that people
know and love,
that normies care about.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're going to show you The Brutalist winning Best Actor, but we're not going to show you Junji winning visual effects. No, people want to see that, right? So, but anyway, I mean, at least they showed it this year, and didn't make that mistake like they did a few years ago. But I just think it's so disrespectful when you have time to have a Bond medley.
Yeah,
why?
What was that? Like,
but why?
Okay, this makes me feel better, because I was watching and I was going, what? There was no like Bond movie nominated. Like, what are we doing here? I did not understand why we were doing this, especially when it's like, oh, we're pressed for time. We're going to be on time, but we have time for this long Bond sequence that has nothing to do with anything. Like, are you kidding me? I was so confused and annoyed. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one.
So I was, musical sequence, I tend to not really pay attention. It's when I go and make myself a cup of tea, and then I come back, and Margaret Qualley is like dancing to, was it Live and Let Die? Did she do the first one? I can't remember. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Was this like, this is Sue now? She's got her New Year's store. Well, what are we doing? And I was so confused, and I was wondering, did I miss something? Did they say why? And then I don't know whether it was said and we all missed it, or whether it wasn't said and people are just assuming, and then, it's because they gave like Barbara Broccoli and then they gave them some Academy recognition separately. Well, then get them up. Well, then, like, what? I don't understand. And also, who? Okay, I'm old, but I don't know who these people are who were singing, and that's fine. Okay. But you literally have, and, 2 of them were, Shirley Bassey, Paul McCartney, fine. They're not going to do. Adele, she's around. She's alive. I mean, the others are alive. She's young. Wait, you have Adele, who won the Oscar for that song, for Skyfall. Why is she not there performing it? I mean, I can only guess maybe they asked and she didn't want to, and I know why they had these 3 singers. It was, again, for the audience, for the young folks, to get them to join. That made me sound terribly old, but I don't think that's doing it. I don't think somebody's like, oh, I'm going to go and watch the whole Oscar ceremony because I want to see Doja Cat singing some Bond song. But I don't know.
Yeah.
No, they're going to watch the 20-second clip of it on TikTok the next day. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Doja Cat is supporting the Oscars. The Oscars are a thing.
Yeah.
Let me carry on with my life now. Let me carry on for Monday.
Yeah. They'll do their Timothy Chalamet fan cam, and then we're good. They don't. His suit was very yellow. Coleman looked great. Coleman always looks great. Coleman always the best dressed.
He does. Best dressed every time.
When's he going to win?
Right?
I say this, he's only been nominated twice, but it's been 2 years in a row, so he feels very present. Mm-hmm. And he's so
good. Incredible. Oh my gosh. Good. Okay.
And he's going
to win the year that
Michael Jackson biopic, isn't he?
Is nominated again. we are all going to reconvene together and gush about him for an hour, okay? We're just gonna...
Yeah, but I'm really worried it's going to be for the Michael Jackson biopic, and that's a musical biopic. So Coleman, I love you, but it's a musical biopic. What are you doing? I know. This is when he gets his Oscar. It's like if Timothy had won, I mean, I didn't think much of his performance, right?
I'm so glad he
whatever,
didn't.
but
Yeah.
I have no context. So I recognize like 3 songs. I have no relation to Bob Dylan at all. So I couldn't, it sounded fine, like, I don't know. But I think Timothy is great. I think he's really talented and he will win an Oscar, I'm sure. And I hope they don't keep him waiting as long as Leo. And I hope he wins it for something
Better.
Where we don't go, oh God, they just gave him an Oscar for swooping at a bear. But that's why I was hoping for his sake it wouldn't be this one.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. I know a lot of people do think he was amazing and great, but as I say, it didn't connect with me because I have no connection to Bob Dylan. It was a music biopic, which is one of my least favorite genres. And I think that would have been a shame. And I don't think that would have been the right film for him to win. So I hope he gets, I don't know whether it's going to be the ping pong film next year that he's working on. I don't know if that's going to be any good. But yeah, I don't think the music biopic is it. But that may be just my bias against that genre as a whole.
No, we are there with you.
So I yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah. It's Bohemian Rhapsody all over again.
Yeah. We've gotten so many over the past 5 years, I think. Oh, we've just gotten so many.
Hang on, wait. But this does mean that we had 4 winners who are 4 original characters. There was no biopic acting win this year.
Yes. Okay. Yay.
Yes.
That is exciting.
Nothing against Cillian Murphy, by the way, because, that was all-timer last year. So... But no. And when he announced Brody and then he did this little smile before and I'm like, what does this mean? What does this smile mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? And then he said Adrian Brody and I'm like, oh, good. And I'm like, why did he smile? Why? Then they had this massive bear hug when he came on. And then it clicked. They were in Peaky Blinders together. I had completely forgotten this. Like Adrian Brody was the antagonist of, I don't know, season 3 or 4 or something.
Like that, yeah.
So I was like, oh, of course. Yes. So that all made sense then. That, he seemed pleased that to give it to Adrian. But, oh God, his speech, so long.
I want the live tweeting live thoughts version of Heather's through this 3-hour experience. I just think it'd be so great. He's smiling. Why is he smiling? What does this mean? Oh, okay, yes, no, okay. Now the speech is so long, just so
Twitter
long.
connected to my stream of consciousness.
Yes, I would love that.
I mean, I put a few tweets out, but not that many. Yeah, I'm not even on Twitter either. It's too toxic for me. I think I put it up, and also my real life friends are mainly still on Twitter, I think. So I only got a couple on Blue Sky. So Blue Sky is more the film thoughts,
Yeah.
But yeah, I put a few out. But yeah, I was like, what's going on? There's something going on here.
We need a Heather Stewart watch along experience next year for the Oscars. I want to tune in for that.
Live stream my reactions. Yeah, no. Well, I suppose if it's just that, you don't have to see me sat in my couch in my pajamas, but with my cup of tea.
It's some wee hours of the night. Yeah.
I mean, the dedication is getting. I think the most was when I was in Spain once. I was in Spain once for Oscar weekend, and they don't have it on free TV there.
Oh.
So I'm sat there going, "Help! How do I watch?" And I was in a hotel without any TV. It was I was there for an event. And hotel rooms were so expensive, so you just kind of got something as cheap as you could. So I was literally in a little almost small dorm room, and there was no television. I'm like, God, what can I do? So I had my laptop, and I'm like, right, how to figure this out? And yeah, I got myself on a VPN and connected to, I don't even know where it was, either UK or Germany, I can't remember, and managed to watch it. But that was touch and go. So I don't think I've missed the Oscars since for 30 years or so, I guess. Yeah.
Incredible. Oh my gosh, the dedication.
Yeah, I found nobody's going to be able to see this, but I just want to show you this. This is my, nobody can see this. Sorry, this is really bad podcasting, but I am showing them a book called The Top 10 of Film,
Oh.
right? And that is from, I think I looked it up, and it had all the Oscar winners up until 2002. And then I had tried to continue as well as I could, and I've written down all in handwritten extra, all the rest of the categories every year since, but I haven't done it for a while because I did it on digital, because I had my predictions with my brother, so we could keep it all digitally. But yeah, I think I've got it all written in there until for another 10 years at least.
Wow.
After that book came out.
Look at that.
Yeah, no,
that is an artifact. I love that. Wait, so your Oscar wager with your brother, where did we land? Did you come out on top, or was it?
I did.
Heck yeah.
And I usually do.
Oh, I love that. Was it
But
closer?
I've been saying to him the last 2 years, since 2 or 3 years, since I've been like really listening to more podcasts and critics, it's been confusing me even more. Because before I would be like, right, okay, I'm going to watch things, I'm going to base it on what I think, go and Gold Derby, what's there, okay, great. But now I'm like, oh my God, and I've got all these things playing in my head, and who's going to split the vote, and could something happen there, and what does SAG really mean, and but there's never been this combination. So I think I've actually got worse the last couple of years, but I've still beaten him. So no, I got 17 and he got 15.
Nice.
Yeah, he it was the documentaries. It was the documentaries that did it for me. I got both documentary short and documentary feature, and he didn't. And he randomly, and I don't know why, predicted Wicked on sound. And I said, it's not going to be Wicked that's the spoiler. It's going to be a complete unknown probably, but it's still going to be June. So yes, so that was that. But we've had the last couple of years a draft going. So we draft 3 pictures, we draft 2 directors, 2 actors, 2 actresses, 2 crafts or something. And we have to do this like before the award season starts. So we're not affected really by anything. And you get 1 point for a nomination and 3 points for a win. And I last year had Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Holdovers. So
you're chilling,
annihilating him, because he did very well in nominations because he had Barbie and Killers of the Flower Moon, and what was his third? I can't remember. He had another. He had Maestro, but still lots of nominations. I can't remember who we had on director and actor and stuff, but yeah. So I pretty much maxed out there on everything, and this year was a bit closer. I was doing really well until Emilia Perez decided to internally combust, but I still got my 2 wins. No, so he did better on the wins last night on that draft. But we do everything. So we do Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG. So everything, you get it for the whole, all the televised, you get the points for. So because Emilia Perez kept doing okay for a while. Yeah, I did manage to win, but he got 36. So he got 12. So in his draft team, he got 12 wins last night, and I got 8. But I still managed to win overall. But it wasn't as much of a blowout as it was last year. I had
Oppenheimer for the
year. I did Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Holdovers was a good set of 3 films. Yeah, and you get points for every. So if you have the film, you get points for everything they win.
Oh, wow.
Whereas if you just nominate, say, I don't know, Cillian Murphy, you're just getting points for him winning.
I see. I see.
Yeah, and also with the crafts, you also have to say like what. So with Sean Baker, he won. And I had Sean Baker on my draft, but specifically for writing. So I only got Sean Baker's screenplay.
Oh, you don't like that.
And he had Honora. He had Honora drafted. So he was.
I see.
Well, he got all his Honora points for everything. Honora won, and I only got it for Sean Baker in
one category,
in screenplay. But whatever.
Whatever, you still won.
I also
overall.
had a real pain. Yeah, I still won overall. Exactly. So who cares? Yes.
Oh, that is so fun.
Always fun.
So fun. Yeah.
Yeah, adds a bit of competitiveness to it. Yeah. But no, we've been doing the predictions for years. I think probably about 20 years or so.
Wow.
I guess. And
that's so fun.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if he's probably count on one hand how many times he's won. I think, but yeah, it's the shorts that kill us every year. Always. We're usually quite similar, but it's the shorts. Who knows?
Yeah.
How did you do in the shorts in your wager? Actually, your wager has got to be announced, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Sarah, do you want to share a little bit about? Well, we do 15 categories. We don't do the whole set.
Oh, you
yeah,
don't do
and
them
then
all,
we
right?
do
Yeah. Okay.
do you want to explain the points? Because we got two selects per category of the 15 that we do.
Yes. So for each category, we give our prediction and then we give our personal pick. So if our prediction is correct, then we get 5 points. And if our personal pick is correct, then we get 1. So you can get a max total of 6 points per category. And for the second time in our 6 years of doing this, I won. My bet on Honora paid off because the Academy did the right thing.
All in on Honora.
It's all because of Honora. It was actually really funny, though. Like, we were tied, basically, and it was going to come down. Yeah, until Hulu cut out. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
We were tied, and it was going to be Best Actress that was going to decide who won. And then I'm watching, and then Hulu stopped working. So that was a mad scramble of like, oh my gosh, I need to find out who won.
Yeah.
So it was a split Demi and Mikey?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Both of our personal picks were Demi, but I guessed Demi and you guessed Mikey for the predicted winner. Yeah.
And we used to do that as well in the predictions. Yeah, we used to have one for proper prediction, and then you got points for that, and then you got half a point for if it was your personal pick. But I decided that we were cheating too much on that we were pretending our personal pick was this if it was close. So you'd be like, oh, I'm going to predict Mikey, but my personal pick would be Demi. And you're like, no, it's not actually going to be Fernanda. We're like, that's lying. So we got rid of that a few years ago because, there is room for cheating there. So you got to stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So clearly you trust each other more than me and my brother do.
Well, it's funny because I think one year, randomly, we just decided to be an agent of chaos. And I think we flipped the points system. So one year we did your desired pick was 5 points and your predicted pick was 1. And I think that this just caused so much chaos.
Yes. That was the other year that I think that I won.
Oh.
Because
you only win when it's chaotic.
Apparently so. I think that was the Everything Everywhere All at Once year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I loved that movie more than Jen did. And so then that just kind of went a little
that's what it was,
control.
because we were like, your desires are not coming true. So you're upset about that. And then you also have to be upset about losing the Oscar wager. So we can't double whammy.
See, that's the reverse psychology that I had with Emilia Perez. That's why I stuck with that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, either way, I'm winning. Yeah, no, I didn't connect with that either, that film. But that was a head shaking, head scratching night. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But I just I didn't get it. Who are you? Who was your preference then? If it wasn't it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
What was my preference that year? Oh my God. I think I fell in love with Tar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fell in love with Tar.
Yeah.
And
yeah, same.
Yeah.
All in and Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. So, Sarah, with your bragging rights and your winning spoils. So, every year when we do the Oscar wager, whoever wins gets to pick the next movie that we watch for the following week and the film that we're going to review. So, I've made Sarah watch some weird stuff over the years because I'm like, this is my opportunity. You know what I mean? I gotta take the chance. So, Sarah, what are we watching next week as our Oscar wager pick?
Okay. I want to use this pick as an opportunity for us to fill in a piece of cinematic history that I don't think either of us have seen. And this is the 1990s classic, beloved film, Point Break.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're going to go
female director.
Yep.
Female
director, action movie.
In women's history month.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, fun action film, female director, 90s goodness. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Great film.
I love it.
Yeah. I've never seen it, and I've been meaning to, so
that.
this is an excuse.
We have reviewed so many movies back to back in the month of February. All these I'm Still Here and The Brutalist and A Complete Unknown. And Sarah and I were joking. We're like, we just need to do some fun things in March, please. So this is a great.
No shade on Point Break.
Yeah.
You saying Keanu Reeves can't act, please.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Tremendous.
it's gonna be great. So
That's a good one.
good pick.
Yep. Okay, have fun with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well done, Sarah. Well done. Love it. Okay, any other last big thoughts about this year's Oscars before we wrap, everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I liked, I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to get political, but I liked some of the things that Conan said. I think there was a few subtle digs. I did laugh that he went there with Carla near the beginning. I thought she didn't understand what was going on. You could tell. Her voice was, she was like, oh, thank you. And you're like, no, no, don't thank him. Stop it. So good for him for going there. And I think overall, I'm kind of pleased. This crazy season is over. I am kind of done with it. So I'm looking forward to fresh, new
movies.
Films.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know what's coming out. I knew a few things, but I'm ready for
fresh new slate,
for some fresh new movies. Yes.
Yeah. We joke that like this is our new year. Like the new year has now started now.
Right.
Well, January 1st.
We talk about
the day after
this
the Oscars.
Is 2024. It's the 2024 Oscars.
Yeah.
So I always get annoyed, like when I doing like quizzes or whatever, or there's quiz shows on TV, and they say, "Oh, who won the Oscar in 2017?" And you're like, "Well, that was Shape of Water," and then it's like, "No, it was Moonlight." I'm like, "No, that was the 2016 Oscar." Yeah. Yes, and then it's like, "Heather, you're such a geek," and I'm like, "No, it's for that season, for goodness sake."
Yeah.
Yes. So then now is New Year. Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year. A fresh new slate of movies to sink our teeth into. Love it. I love it.
Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything from you? Did we hit all the main points?
I think we hit a lot of them. I think the last little... Okay, two very, very quick things is I loved seeing June Squibb up there, and her little bit with ScarJo. It was just so funny. It was just so well done. And then I also loved the Quincy Jones tribute and seeing that number from The Wiz. That was just so wonderful to see, and I appreciate like how much time they dedicated to honoring him and all of his contributions, and then even the having Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah presenting it, and that tie into The Color Purple and all of that. So I loved that they took that time to do that.
So good. All right. Well, we have dove in. We have shared our thoughts, our opinions, our reactions to this year's Oscars. Thank you so much to everyone for hanging out with us, for listening to this week's episode of Movies and Us. A big thank you to you, Heather, for joining and potting with us and getting to share all of your thoughts and perspectives about this year's Oscars. It was so rich and exciting.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course.
Great fun chatting with you.
We'll have to have you on and pod about an actual film together sometime. That'd be really fun.
Yeah. I need to figure out what is coming out this year.
Our new slate of fresh movies to dive into. But Heather, where can people find more of you, follow, connect, and get more of your content on the interwebs?
Yeah, well, I everywhere pretty much. I'm Heather J. Stewart on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. I have recently been on the 2016 Revisionist Almanac, winning most of the categories in the online vote. Hurrah! Yeah. I was also recently, if you want to listen to more about my thoughts on particular pictures and loves and hates, I was recently in Never Ending Watch List. I'll recommend for people to listen to what those guys are doing. And yeah, I've got some prep for the next Revisionist Almanac episode next year, but I need to start early because it's a year I have not seen many films from. And I've got the greatest movie of all time podcast lined up for Requiem for a Dream. So fun times. It's coming. Nice light movies coming
up. Relaxing, peaceful.
Yeah, yes, of course, yes. So that's coming up. And then always happy to talk to anybody about movies. So
love it.
Yeah. Come and engage with me on the socials or
Perfect. And we will include a lot of those links and whatnot to Heather's handles and where to follow and find more of her and all of her movie conversations. So our name, Movies and Us, sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we connect with each other and the world around us. So this podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. Everyone is welcome here. We're so glad you spent time with the three of us today, post-Oscars morning. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know all of your thoughts about biggest surprises, reactions, bits from the ceremony that you enjoyed from this year. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at MoviesAndUsPod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. We will be back next week to discuss Sarah's pick for the Oscar wager win. 1990s film Point Break should be a good time, and we need a little bit of that now as we kick off the new year. So we hope y'all have an amazing weekend. We'll see y'all again very soon.